All right. Music maestro. Another moment with Bob. Can you pot it up a little bit? Maybe even more. Oh, it is? I guess I'm just not getting it. Another moment with Bob brought to you by your friends at Offshore Drilling. Tonight's moment is entitled Anything Can Happen Day. Hey, Mike. I keep a pen and notepad on my nightstand, so when I get an idea as I drift off to sleep, I can write it down before I forget it. I started doing this years ago because no matter how many times I'd say to myself, I won't forget this, the next morning when I got to the computer, the idea would be gone, gone, gone. I'm not saying they were all good ideas because I don't know how good or bad any idea is until I start typing it out. I can usually tell about a third of the way through whether or not I should keep going or throw it in the garbage. But if the idea has vanished in the night, there's nothing to get the ball rolling. At the top of the notepad, I wrote this: Fucko the clown is a lying sack of shit. I didn't write that down to remind me of that miserable fact. I wrote it down to remind myself that Fucko the clown hasn't actually done anything. The headlines in the news about how Fucko did this or Fucko's done that, but the reality is that Fucko the clown has not done anything. He's a lazy, lying sack of shit who watches TV 8 hours a day, tweets bullshit about what he sees on television, and eats cheeseburgers before he goes to bed. On any given day, he might squeeze in an hour and a half or 2 hours of actual work. And that work entails meeting with his people who tell him generally what's going on in the world. I say generally because his people have learned to leave out the details. Details bore him. Fucko did not work until the wee hours of the morning crafting the health care proposal that would gut health care for millions of people, or the massive tax cuts for the obscenely wealthy. Fucko didn't do any of that shit. He just signs his name to pieces of paper in front of the cameras. But Fucko actually does one thing very well. He sets the tone of his administration. He's given permission to those Americans who want to make xenophobia and racism great again. Mission accomplished. Every single drop of the misery we've seen since Inauguration Day is due to the rat bastard Republicans and the corrupt Democrats who go along with them. But they are just meat puppets jerking to the strings pulled by the donor class. For over 500 days, the oligarchs have been calling the shots while they reshape the United States into their vision of the future. I could make a long, long list of horrors, but right now I just want to focus on one thing. But first, I have to tell you about an old movie. Paramount released 7 Days in May in 1964. Rod Serling wrote the screenplay and John Frankenheimer directed it. Frankenheimer, by the way, directed The Manchurian Candidate a few years earlier and was well suited to make another political thriller. The plot. Kirk Douglas, playing a Marine Corps colonel and Pentagon insider, discovers that Burt Lancaster's character, leader of the Joint Chiefs, is fomenting a coup d'etat to remove the president and his entire cabinet. The coup will begin in 7 days. Douglas alerts the president, played by Frederick March, and they work to stop the coup, to thwart the coup. One of the subplots concerns an ally of the president, a senator played by Edmund O'Brien, who is sent to uncover a secret army base in Texas that will be used during the coup attempt. But the senator is arrested when he tries to enter the base. And a bunch of other shit happens, which I won't go into because I don't do spoilers. The reason I brought up this movie was because I remember how shocked I was watching the scene when the senator was arrested for trying to enter a military base. These people were serious and did not give a rat's ass about roughing up a United States senator. But that was just a scene in a movie. Fast forward 54 years to a couple of days ago. United States Senator Jeff Merkley was denied entry to an ICE child detention center, a converted Walmart in Brownsville, Texas. Instead of letting the senator into the facility that houses 1,000 children, the cops were called and the senator and his crew were turned away. Merkley inspected another facility in McAllen, Texas, which he described as horrific. Children in cages. 3-year-olds lined up for food with 17-year-olds. Children separated from their parents. Here's the deal. Most of the coverage I've seen gives the impression that these children are from families who were arrested attempting to illegally cross the border. But these are children from families who came to the border because they were seeking asylum. These aren't illegal immigrants. They're refugees. As Merkley said in a phone interview with Time magazine, quote, "Are we really putting children through a traumatic experience here in the United States in order to dissuade their parents from seeking asylum?" End quote. The message is loud and clear. Do not come to the United States if you are seeking political protection from the wars and violence in your home country, because if you do, the United States will tear your family apart. The windows and doors of the converted Walmart in Brownsville, Texas are literally blacked out. We can't see what is happening to those 1,000 children inside the detention center. I can't imagine it. Can you? I've been in jail, a drunk tank, and a treatment center. They're human zoos, more or less. The treatment center was certainly more pleasant, but still a zoo. The fact that the government of the United States puts little kids in fucking detention centers, a fucking zoo, because their families had the audacity to want a better life, should make us all wonder just how far the donor class is willing to go to realize their malignant dreams. When I was a kid, I'd turn on the television and watch the Mickey Mouse Club. Each day of the week had a different theme. On Wednesdays, it was Anything Can Happen Day. Now, with the donor class in charge of the government, and with Fuckle the Clown entertaining the rubes from the center ring, every day is Anything Can Happen Day. From Time magazine, June 6, 2018. Quote, graduating 8th graders from a school in Pennsylvania were given bulletproof shields for their backpacks Monday in preparation for high school. One student said, "I never thought I'd need this." Anything can happen. Anything. Regards, Bob. Another Moment with Bob, brought to you by your friends at Offshore Drilling. By the way, Bob has a website, Bob Alexander. What's his web address? I don't think it's Super Beans, no. Yeah, Bob, send us, I should have it, but if you're listening, if you would send your website address, I'll put it out there, because I think everything that Bob and I have done together, Bob and Kathy and I and Molly, everything we have done, I think, is at that website. All the old Radio Gumshoe bits, the moments with Bob. It's a goddamn veritable library. That ought to be worth something. A couple bucks. Another Moment with Bob.